Today for Devotions with Daniella, we are reading White Women Get Ready, How Healing Post-Traumatic Mistress Syndrome Leads to Anti-Racist Change by Amanda K. Gross. Working on this for my own practice of deconstructing the delusion of white supremacy. If you would like to follow along, you can get signed copies here. Okay, so we're in this three-part story where she has taken a black friend home to Atlanta to meet her white family. And after that, the black friend told her that she felt very tokenized and very like this white woman who's, a race educator, community organizer, was using her as a prop. In looking back at these emails many years later, I can more clearly see what was probably her stuff and what was mine, when at the time it was so confusing. I can see too how the filing cabinet strategy prevented me from being fully honest and authentic with her in the moment. I can see how holding on to my emotional filing cabinet system, as opposed to more fully showing up in the actual moment, has been facilitated by my access to white womanhood. I see how it has allowed me to divide and hide, keeping what I truly thought and felt withheld, privately compartmentalized from that of my public persona. Just like my public-facing persona, the niceness of the plantation mistress was always a falsehood. Falsehoods, even when they're dressed up in lace, impair the building of trust. And trust is the cornerstone of any authentic relationship, especially one that attempts to untie hundreds of years of history. I see how this form of protective dishonesty has caused distrust in my relationships, especially with Black women. My well-intentioned white lady goal of emotionally shielding my housemates and chosen family from my whiteness hasn't made any of us safer in the long run. Just like the 19th century plantation mistress, I might have been only deceiving me. This self-deception has been part of what propelled me toward the writing of this book. Now that I am practicing more authenticity, there are many files to sort through and much to unlearn. Just as those of us status quo and passing white ladies have many files to sort through and much to unlearn. I'm realizing with increased compassion for myself how the filing cabinet strategy has protected me in moments when I felt like I had few options. Perhaps I've often had more options than I thought. I'm thinking of the other times I have microaggressed, and she crosses out micro because they're not micro, and disrespected the women of color closest to me within the context of anti-racist organizing, collaborations, and friendships. This even happens in my seemingly insignificant use of language. My use of the word my, for example, to claim ownership of collective space, collective work, and land stolen that never belonged to me, reveals the ease of violence in my speech. The danger to the lives of people of color is that my unexamined use of my is an assertion of ownership sanctioned by the state, in claiming my home to housemates who are renting from me when my name is on the mortgage, in claiming my work to the people I'm organizing with who were sometimes unpaid while I had a salaried position, in claiming my book to those who have done the labor of helping me learn the things I am writing about. My casual and careless use of my can alienate those with whom I'm organizing through the assertion of my own ownership of land, of labor, and intellectual and creative property, based on systems that have historically validated white people as the rightful owners and have taught me the same. The reality is that despite my professed commitment to anti-racism, I could at any moment access the racist powers of the state. I could legally evict my housemates. I could move up in the organization while documenting the work solely as mine. I could profit from the publishing of this book without reciprocity. And even in this argument, my perfectionism is seeping in. I'm afraid of enacting the power I do have in violent ways. I am afraid of living out the plantation mistress. I am afraid of not being the anti-racist organizer that has become central to my identity. So, in response, I swing the other way. I avoid any use of my, running away from my responsibility of ownership and access. On one hand, this is in alignment with the ideals of communalism and alternatives to the individualism of white culture. But on the other hand, my intentional non-use of my is just as much about me not wanting to be responsible. Is it just as much about me disliking? It is just as much about me disliking the power I have, or perhaps being afraid of it. Denying I have power and responsibility does little to change the reality of it. Denying my feelings and real opinions when in conflict with Black women does little to build a solid foundation of mutual trust. I see how I'm trying to get out of my mistress syndrome, even as I continue to play the part.